Alrighty, so another weekend of MLS action is upon us as we are getting ever so close to Decision Day 2022 and that the regular season is about to finish. And, like I said many times before, we are now in the crunch time of the MLS season where pretty much every game matters, especially for those teams that is battling for those last precious playoff spot, and even for some teams that are trying to battle for seeding and home field advantage, and especially the Supporter Shield race, because the Supporter Shield race, we thought that it was going to be LAFC running away with it. Well, now all of a sudden, it looked like a new challenger is ready to go toe-to-toe with LAFC coming out of the Eastern Conference. But with that being said, in terms of this Labor Day weekend of MLS action, we do have 5 games that's going to be happening on Saturday, which is what this video is going to be about. We're going to look at the 5 games, and then tomorrow I'll look at the 8 games that's going to be happening on Sunday. Again, because it's the Labor Day weekend, we do have more games that happen on Sunday, since most people, of course, does get the Labor Day off. Of course, unfortunately, are not included as one of those lucky ones. And also, not to mention, there was actually supposed to be 14 games that was going to happen, but looks like the Florida derby between Inter Miami versus Orlando City we'll have to wait for a bit because of the fact that we do have that U.S. Open Cup final game that is going to be happening in the middle of the week. But let us begin in terms of this 5-game action on Saturday with Minnesota United versus FC Dallas. So this game will start at 3:30 p.m. Eastern, 12:30 p.m. Pacific, but the actual kickoff is 2:50 p.m. local time, which means this game is going to be on Twitter. I mean, it's hard to believe that, before when the Loons play against Houston, I believe that was the first time that they feature on Twitter. They've now featured on Twitter 2 out of the last 3 games. I don't know why Twitter all of a sudden started to like the Loons, or maybe it's because of the fact that they're playing against Texas team and that, this is pretty much complete, almost a trifecta in terms of Texas team that they are facing at home, because, the last 3 home team that they've been facing are basically Texas team. And this is definitely a big matchup for Minnesota, especially with the way that, after what happened on Wednesday, after they decided to punt the game and decided to kind of disappoint me because I actually traveled to that game only to basically see them not even think about trying to get all 3 points or even get a point out of this game and just act that as a throwaway game. This game now means a lot to this team. Now, the good news for the Loons in terms of this one is that, despite the fact that they do have a slight lead in the all-time series, 6-2-5 over FC Dallas, they pretty much dominate the series in the last 5 head-to-head match. In fact, they have not lost to Dallas in these last 5 head-to-head match. It was a 2-1 win that they had against Dallas earlier this season on the road before a 0-0 draw between them and Dallas, a 1-1 draw between both of them, and then a 1-0 win that Minnesota had against Dallas last time both of these teams play at Allianz Field, and then a 3-0 win that the Loons had against FC Dallas at Allianz Field. But, like I said, this is probably the best Dallas team that the Loons are going to be faced for a while, and that, again, this is a big opportunity for this team that, want to definitely have a good bounce back after that loss that they had in the middle of the week. I mean, I get it. It's a throwaway game. But you got to prove in this game that, if there's a way to make up for that throwaway game, and that if that game is a purpose to try to get all 3 points in this one, they need to win this one. Because if they don't win this one, then, yeah, it's not going to make things look good in terms of the Wednesday throwaway game. And now all of a sudden, it's not just the fact that they are fighting. I talked about before they were fighting 3 teams for those 2 home field position spot in 3rd and 4th. There's now a new challenger that is lurking in the background, and that team is called Nashville SC that is also trying to get those spots. So again, for both of these teams, you would think that they definitely want to win if they want to hang on to that spot, especially for FC Dallas, knowing the fact that they have played the most game out of anybody, and that teams below them do have games in hand over them. They want to, of course, get a result, but it's not going to be easy. Like I said, they have not played against Minnesota United well recently. But that being said, I'm also a little bit nervous about the back line and how it's going to do, because this Dallas attack, it's very lethal, and that, if this Loons back line, which I don't know if it's going to be the same back line as the one that start against RSL, but if it is the case, oh boy, I am going to be very nervous coming into this game, and that this could maybe be a high scoring game if that is the case. Now, that being said, moving on into the next match, we got Columbus versus the Chicago Fire, which will start at 5:30 p.m. Eastern, 2:30 p.m. Pacific, but the actual kickoff is 5:38 p.m. local time. The Crew having 9-12-6 record, while Chicago 8-7-13 is their record. All time in terms of the meeting, it's the Fire with a 31-22-24 lead in terms of the all-time series. But in the last 5 head-to-head matchup, well, Fire fans would not want to remember what happened last time they faced the Crew. They had a 2-0 lead in that game. They blew it and lost 3-2 in that one. Then the Crew won 2-0 against Chicago, a 1-0 win that the Fire had against Columbus. Then Columbus won 2-0 against the Fire, and then it's a 2-2 draw between both of these teams. And that, coming into this game, obviously Columbus, they still have something to fight for. I mean, after getting some big victories in these last couple of games, or in the last game against Inter Miami at home, and now getting themselves in a very good position in the playoffs, they definitely maybe want to try to sneak into maybe that 5th seed or even into the 4th seed. Whereas for the Chicago Fire, I mean, if this is not last chance saloon in terms of their playoff hope, it is pretty much now. With the way that they don't win this game, I'm pretty sure their season is done and that they're in see you next season mode. And it doesn't help the fact that they're kind of in that mode when they have to go on the road, which is something that they have not done very well so far for this season. And not to mention, they've been heading toward the wrong direction in these last couple of games, and that they've once again now started to go back in that winless run and go into that tailspin like they did in the month of May and June. But that being said, moving on, in the next match, we got the New York Red Bulls versus the red-hot Philadelphia Union, who is 16-9-4, and I talked about earlier, the new challenger in terms of LAFC Supporters Shield race. Well, it seems like the Union is in that challenge. In fact, they're actually tied with LAFC on points at 57 points. And judging how the Union has been playing and also how LAFC is playing, I won't be surprised by the end of this week the Union might be taking charge of that Supporters Shield standings. And did I mention in the beginning of the season that I predicted the Union was going to finish first in the East and that they were going to win the Supporters Shield? Yeah, I probably should have put money on that. Although I will say that I'll probably lose a lot of money if I put money on everything that I predicted in the beginning of the season, because as I'll basically do a video talk about the season prediction that I made in the beginning of the year, I won't be surprised I got a lot of them wrong. But at least one thing I know is that I probably got this one right, with the Union most likely going to finish at the top spot in the Eastern Conference, and I did say that they were going to win the Supporters Shield. It seems like that is kind of the case because, again, they are red hot right now, though they do face against the New York Red Bulls, and this could be another preview of a playoff matchup, because it seems like both of these teams have met in the playoffs a lot, and that this could be a preview of that, as the Red Bulls have a 13-8-8 record, as this game will start at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, but the actual kickoff is 7:08 p.m. local time. The all-time meeting, well, it is as tight as it gets. 15 wins apiece for both of these teams with 8 draws. And the last 5 head-to-head matchup, it has been incredibly close. I mean, it's been very low scoring. It was a 1-1 draw that last time both of these teams faced off against each other. Before, it was a 1-0 win that the Union has against the Red Bulls. Then a 1-1 draw between both of these teams before another 1-1 draw. And then the Union winning 1-0 against the New York Red Bulls. So, yeah, as much as I know the Union has been red hot right now, I mean, this game against the Red Bulls, and even though I know the Red Bulls haven't done very well this season at home, I won't be surprised that this might be a low-scoring game, and that maybe the Union attack will be a little bit more neutralized in these last couple of games, because the rate that they're going on the attack is just unthinkable, and that you just kind of feel like maybe they're due for a bit of an off night. And against this Red Bulls defense that for the most part has been very solid this season, this could be that night where they're probably not going to score like 4 or 5 goals in a game. I mean, surely they can't score like 4 or 5 goals again, or even 6 goals against this Red Bulls team that, like I mentioned, they do have the better defense in the league, and that that number, I think that number kind of is a little bit inflated with the way that they did had a rough patch during the month of August in the defensive area, but they've done much better in that department, and I won't be surprised the fact that this could be another low scoring game between these two teams that not only might meet in the playoffs, but they do not like each other whatsoever. But now moving on, in the next match, we got FC Cincinnati versus Charlotte FC. And speaking of last chance saloon, that's kind of the case for Charlotte. I mean, they are really falling behind in the standings in a way where they're pretty much close to, let's wrap up this expansion season and see what we can do in our second year of existence with them with a 10-2-16 record and have now slid down to 12th place in the Eastern Conference against an FC Cincinnati team that, you know, in some way, even though they're below the red line, they actually control their own destiny in the playoffs. I mean, they do have a game in hand over Inter Miami, who is above the red line, the last team in, and that the gap between both of them is only 2 points. So Cincinnati can win that game in hand. They, of course, will overtake Miami for that spot. Now, this game will start at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 p.m. Pacific, but the actual kickoff is 7:38 p.m. local time. And in terms of the all-time meeting, there's only one prior meeting, which Charlotte was able to win that meeting, a 2-0 win against FC Cincinnati back all the way, I believe, the third week of the season. I mean, I know it was very early that both of these teams, of course, face off against each other, and both of these teams have been different. I mean, you know, early this season, I praised on the fact that Charlotte has played very well, but lately it seems like they're kind of running out of gas a little bit, whereas Cincinnati continue to have the strong form and continue to make the case that, yeah, they are going to be that team that is going to be sneak into the playoffs. So, yeah, I think this should be a very interesting match, and also a game that it's kind of hard to predict, too, because as much as you would think that Cincinnati would be heavily favorites in this one, I won't be surprised if they drop points in this game, knowing the fact that their home form has not been great this season. They've been dropping way too many points, and if there is going to be one thing that will kind of frustrate Cincinnati fans, and maybe is the reason why they won't make the playoffs this season, is because of their poor home form this year. Now, moving on in terms of the next match, and speaking of poor home form, that's kind of started going away for Nashville SC, because all of a sudden, Nashville has become one of the hottest teams in the league, and they're going to be playing against a team that is also pretty hot, that is Austin FC, in a game that I'm kind of surprised this was not on national television, because, you know, this wouldn't make sense to be on national television with one of the newest team against another newer team, and especially with both of these teams in spectacular form, and also have two number 10 that is probably going to be going head-to-head in terms of the MVP race. We've got Hani Mukhtar for Nashville SC, who just cannot stop scoring, against Sebastian Giroussi, who also cannot stop scoring for Austin FC, and I'm very interested to see who is going to be the better number 10 out of this matchup. Now, this game will start at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Pacific, but the actual kickoff is 7:38 p.m. local time. Nashville with an 11-9-9 record, while Austin with a 15-6-7 record. All-time meeting, there's only one prior meeting, which Nashville won that one 1-0 against Austin FC, but that was back in 2021. And yeah, I mean, I'm excited about this game, and I won't be surprised. There could be a lot of goals that could be scored in this game, because, you know, Nashville has really found their foot in terms of the attack. They have scored, what, I believe 11 goals in the last 3 games against an Austin team that we know they are every single game Los Verdes play, it is literally like a roller coaster emotion, with them just pulling crazy resort out of the hat every single game, and I won't be surprised this could be one of them. Like, don't be surprised if this game could end like 3-2 or 4-3, and we might have some MLS After Dark shenanigans that's going to happen in this one. But there you have it. That is pretty much it in terms of the preview of all of these games. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think of all of these games, and as always, make sure you guys leave your prediction below in terms of all these games that's going to be happening tomorrow. And tomorrow I'm also going to be doing the preview for the Saturday game, or not the Saturday game, the Sunday game that's going to finish off match week number, I believe, 29 now in the MLS season. And I think I'll do it during this one between Columbus versus Chicago. I'll probably do it right at halftime and basically pause the game and give me time in terms of looking at the 8 games that's going to be happening tomorrow. But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I, of course, will see you guys next time.